Your pen touches the paper, and suddenly everything you've been carrying becomes lighter. That's the power hiding inside a simple journal. Not the fancy kind with gold edges, not the ones that cost $50. Just you, a page, and the courage to be honest with yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself every single night. He didn't write for glory. He didn't write for history. He wrote because his soul needed it. His private journals, which we now call meditations, weren't meant for anyone's eyes but his own. Yet they became one of the most transformative texts in human history. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Think about that for a moment. The Emperor of Rome, with all the wealth and power in the world, found his peace not in palaces or victories, but in the quiet act of examining his own mind. In 2026, we're drowning in noise. Our phones scream for attention. Our minds race with worry about tomorrow, regret about yesterday, and anxiety about everything in between. We've forgotten how to be still with ourselves. We've forgotten that wisdom isn't found in the latest app or the newest trend. It's found in the ancient practice of turning inward. The Stoics understood something we're only now rediscovering. They knew that writing isn't just about recording events. It's about transforming them. It's about taking the chaos in your head and bringing order to it. It's about finding meaning in the struggle. When Seneca faced exile, he didn't crumble. He wrote. When Epictetus lived as a slave, he didn't give up. He reflected. These philosophers didn't have easy lives. They faced loss, pain, and hardship just like we do. But they had a tool that turned suffering into wisdom. That tool was their journal. You don't need to be perfect to start. You don't need to write like a poet or think like a philosopher. You just need to begin, because here's the truth that nobody tells you. The act of writing changes you. Not someday, not eventually, right now. Your struggles matter, your thoughts matter, your journey matters. And when you put them on paper, something magical happens. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the author of your response to them. The 5 journaling habits I'm about to share with you aren't theory. They're not some academic exercise from dusty philosophy books. They're practical tools that the Stoics use daily to build unshakable minds. Tools that help them navigate betrayal, loss, poverty, and power without losing themselves. These habits will help you find clarity when everything feels confusing. They'll give you strength when you feel weak. They'll remind you of who you are when the world tries to tell you who you should be. Type this out if tonight's the night you finally start. I write, I heal, I grow. Before we dive deep into these life-changing habits, hit that like button. It helps this message reach someone who desperately needs it today. Share this video with one person who's struggling to find peace in their mind. Subscribe to this channel because we're building a community of people who choose wisdom over worry. And please don't skip any part of this video. The Stoics believed that philosophy isn't something you study, it's something you practice. Journaling is that practice. It's where philosophy meets your real life, your real problems, your real pain, and your real potential. Are you ready? Because what you're about to learn won't just change how you journal, it'll change how you live. Number 1. The evening reflection. Reviewing your day like a witness, not a judge. The day ends and most people collapse into distraction, scrolling, watching, anything to avoid the silence. But the Stoics did something different. They sat with their day like a friend, sitting with a friend. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, "I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by." This wasn't about beating himself up. It wasn't about listing failures like weapons against his own heart. It was about honest observation, like watching a movie of your life and taking notes, not as a critic, but as someone who genuinely wants to understand. Here's what makes this habit so powerful in 2026. We live in a world that never stops. One moment crashes into the next. We move so fast that we never actually process what happened. That argument with your partner, you pushed it down. That moment of joy when your child laughed, you barely noticed it. That fear that crept up during the meeting, you ignored it and kept moving. But unprocessed moments don't disappear. They pile up inside you. They become the weight you carry without knowing why you're tired. The evening reflection changes this. Every night, before sleep pulls you under, you take 10 minutes. Just 10. You open your journal and you ask yourself 3 simple questions. What did I do well today? Not perfectly, not flawlessly, just well. Maybe you were patient when patience was hard. Maybe you chose honesty when lying was easier. Maybe you showed up even though you wanted to quit. Write it down. Let yourself see your own strength. Where did I fall short? This is where most people go wrong. They turn this into a massacre. They rip themselves apart with shame and judgment. But that's not what Seneca did. He observed. He said, "Here's where I stumbled. Here's where fear won. Here's where I forgot who I wanted to be." No hatred, just truth. What can I learn from this? This is the question that transforms everything. Because once you spot the pattern, once you see where you keep tripping over the same stone, you can finally move it. You stop repeating the same painful cycles. You start growing. Marcus Aurelius would review his reactions to difficult people. He'd write about losing his temper, about feeling frustrated, about wanting to lash out. But then he'd write about understanding, about remembering that people do the best they can with what they know, about choosing compassion over anger. He wasn't perfect, but he was committed to being better. That's what this habit gives you. Not perfection, progress, not shame, awareness, not judgment, growth. Think about how different your life would be if you actually learned from your days instead of just surviving them. If you celebrated your small victories instead of only seeing your failures. If you approached your mistakes with curiosity instead of cruelty. The evening reflection turns your life into your greatest teacher. Every single day becomes a lesson. Every interaction becomes data. Every emotion becomes information. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. It all serves your growth. And here's the beautiful secret. When you review your day without judgment, something shifts inside you. You start treating yourself like someone worth understanding. You start seeing yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend. That voice in your head that's been so harsh, it softens. You begin to notice patterns. Maybe you realize you're always tired on days when you skip breakfast. Maybe you see that you're happiest when you help someone else. Maybe you discover that your anxiety spikes when you spend too much time on social media. These insights don't come from research or experts. They come from you, studying you. This is self-knowledge, real self-knowledge, not the Instagram version where everything's curated and perfect. The raw, honest, transformative kind that actually changes your life. Seneca said he would call his soul to account every single night, not to punish it, to understand it, to guide it, to help it become what it was meant to be. Your journal becomes a mirror, but not the kind that shows you your flaws to make you feel small, the kind that shows you your truth, so you can finally become free. 10 minutes, every evening, before you close your eyes on today and wake up to tomorrow. 10 minutes to honor your journey, to learn from your path, to become the person you're meant to be, one honest observation at a time. The Stoics knew that an unexamined life isn't worth living. But an examined life, that's where wisdom lives. That's where peace grows. That's where you finally come home to yourself. Comment this if you're done wasting your lessons. I learn from every day. Number 2. The obstacle log. Turning problems into your personal philosophy. Pain teaches better than pleasure ever could. The Stoics didn't run from difficulty. They studied it. They knew that every obstacle carried a lesson, and if you missed the lesson, you'd face the same obstacle again and again, until you finally paid attention. Epictetus said something that still echoes through time. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He didn't say this from a place of privilege. He said it from a place of deep suffering. And that's what makes it true. Most of us treat problems like enemies. We want them gone. We want them solved. We want to never think about them again. But what if problems aren't the enemy? What if they're the curriculum? The obstacle log is simple, but it's not easy. Every time something challenges you, frustrates you, or stops you in your tracks, you write it down. Not to complain, not to vent, to understand, to extract the gold from the difficulty. Here's how it works. You create 3 columns in your journal. Column 1, the obstacle. What actually happened? Not your interpretation, not your story about it, just the facts. Your boss criticized your work. Your friend cancelled plans. You didn't get the job. You felt anxious before the presentation. Write it clean and clear. Column 2, your initial reaction. This is where you get honest about the storm inside you. How did you feel? What did you want to do? Maybe you wanted to quit. Maybe you wanted to scream. Maybe you wanted to hide under the covers and never come out. Write it all. This isn't the place for who you wish you were. This is the place for who you actually are in that moment. Column 3, the Stoic response. This is where transformation happens. You ask yourself, what would wisdom do here? Not what would feel good. Not what would be easy. What would move me forward? What would make me stronger? What can I control in this situation? Marcus Aurelius used this exact framework when leading Rome through wars, plagues, and betrayals. He'd write about his frustrations with lazy senators, incompetent generals, and endless problems. But then he'd shift. He'd write about what he could control, his own effort, his own integrity, his own response. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This wasn't just a clever phrase. This was his lived experience. Every obstacle he faced became the material for building his character. In 2026, we face different battles. Not wars with swords, but wars with anxiety. Not plagues of the body, but plagues of the mind. Not betrayals from enemies, but betrayals from our own negative thoughts. The obstacles look different, but the principle remains the same. That job rejection, it's teaching you resilience. That difficult conversation, it's teaching you courage. That failure, it's teaching you humility and perseverance, but only if you stop long enough to learn the lesson. Here's what most people miss. They journal about their problems, but they stay stuck in the problem. They write pages and pages about how unfair life is, how hard things are, how much they're suffering. And yes, that can feel good temporarily, but it doesn't change anything. The obstacle log is different because it forces you to move through the pain toward wisdom. It doesn't deny your feelings. It honors them in column 2. But then it asks you to rise, to find the response that makes you proud, to discover the strength you didn't know you had. Think about your biggest obstacle right now, the thing that keeps you up at night, the problem that feels impossible. What if that obstacle isn't blocking your path? What if it is your path? Every great person you admire faced obstacles that would have destroyed most people. They didn't succeed despite their obstacles. They succeeded because of what those obstacles taught them. The obstacle was the teacher. The struggle was the school. Your obstacle log becomes a record of your growth. 6 months from now, you'll look back at problems that felt overwhelming, and you'll see how far you've come. You'll see patterns in how you react. You'll notice yourself getting stronger, wiser, calmer. You'll have proof that you can handle hard things. Epictetus also said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." Your obstacles aren't revealing your weakness. They're revealing your potential. They're showing you what you're capable of becoming. Every problem is a question, and your obstacle log is where you work out the answer. Not the easy answer, not the comfortable answer, the true answer, the one that changes you. The Stoics became unshakable not because they avoided difficulty, but because they used difficulty as their training ground. Your obstacles are your opportunity to do the same. Number 3. The gratitude inventory. Finding wealth in what you already hold. You're richer than you think you are. Not in your bank account, not in material things, in moments, in people, in the ordinary magic you walk past every single day without noticing. Seneca spent time deliberately imagining loss. He'd close his eyes and picture losing everything he loved, his home, his friends, his health, his life. This sounds dark, but it wasn't. It was the opposite. He called it negative visualization, and it taught him something profound. Everything you have is borrowed. Everything is temporary, and that makes it precious beyond measure. He wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." But we can't enjoy the present when we're blind to it, when we take it for granted, when we're always chasing the next thing, convinced that happiness lives somewhere else. The gratitude inventory isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything is perfect when it's not. It's about training your mind to see the good that's actually there, hidden beneath your worry and wanting. Here's the practice. Every morning, before the day pulls you into its chaos, you write down 3 specific things you're grateful for. But here's the key. You can't be vague. You can't write "my family" or "my health" and call it done. That's lazy gratitude. That's autopilot gratitude. That doesn't change anything. You have to get specific. You have to feel it. Not "I'm grateful for my partner." Instead, "I'm grateful for the way my partner laughed at my terrible joke this morning, even though it wasn't funny, because they wanted me to feel good." Do you feel the difference? One is a concept. The other is a moment. One is abstract. The other is alive. Not "I'm grateful for my home." Instead, "I'm grateful for the warmth of my bed on a cold morning, for the privilege of having a safe place to rest my head when so many don't." Now you're not just listing, you're remembering, you're feeling, you're present. Marcus Aurelius practiced this religiously. Even as emperor, surrounded by luxury most people couldn't imagine, he'd write about simple things: the kindness of a friend, the beauty of dawn, the gift of another breath. He understood that gratitude isn't about having everything, it's about honoring anything. In 2026, we're trained to focus on lack. The algorithm shows you what you don't have. The ads tell you what you need to buy to be complete. Your social media feed is a highlight reel of everyone else's perfection, making your real life feel small. We're constantly measuring ourselves against an impossible standard, and we're always coming up short. The gratitude inventory breaks that cycle. It retrains your brain to hunt for good instead of hunting for problems. And here's the science behind the ancient wisdom. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system. It's a filter that decides what you notice. If you program it to look for problems, you'll find problems everywhere. If you program it to look for blessings, you'll find blessings everywhere. Both are true. Both exist simultaneously. The question is, which one are you training yourself to see? But here's where this practice gets really powerful. After you write your 3 specific gratitudes, you add one more question. What would my life be like without this? Imagine your morning without that coffee that warms your hands. Imagine your day without the ability to walk, to see, to hear. Imagine your life without that friend who always answers when you call. Imagine your world without the simple gift of running water, electricity, or freedom. Suddenly, what seemed ordinary becomes extraordinary. What seemed small becomes significant. What you took for granted becomes a treasure. Epictetus, who owned almost nothing, who lived most of his life without freedom, said something that puts our complaints in perspective. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. You don't need more to be happy. You need awareness of what you already have. The gratitude inventory doesn't erase your problems. It doesn't make hard things easy, but it gives you ballast. It gives you balance. When life feels heavy, when everything seems dark, you have this practice, this anchor, this reminder that even in struggle, there is still good. Even in pain, there is still beauty. Even in loss, there is still love. Your journal becomes a testament to your life's richness. On hard days, you can flip back through pages and pages of proof that your life contains blessing, that you are surrounded by grace, that you have reasons to keep going. 3 things, every morning, specific and felt. That's all it takes to slowly, gently, powerfully shift your entire relationship with your life, from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to celebration, from taking to treasuring. The Stoics knew that wealth isn't what you own, it's what you appreciate, and appreciation is a choice you make every single day. Number 4, the fear interrogation. Meeting your anxiety with questions, not surrender. Fear lies to you every single day. It tells you that you're not ready, that you'll fail, that people will judge you, that the worst will definitely happen, and most of us believe these lies without question. We let fear sit in the driver's seat of our lives, taking us further and further from who we want to be. The Stoics had a different relationship with fear. They didn't try to eliminate it. They didn't pretend to be fearless. They interrogated it. They questioned it. They looked it straight in the eye and asked, "Is this true, or is this just a story?" Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Read that again. Most of your suffering isn't happening in your actual life. It's happening in your mind, in the terrible futures you create, in the catastrophes you rehearse over and over. You're torturing yourself with things that haven't happened and might never happen. The fear interrogation is where you take back your power. It's where you stop being a victim of your anxious thoughts and become an investigator of them. Here's how it works. When fear shows up, when anxiety grips your chest, when worry keeps you awake, you don't push it away. You don't fight it. You write it down. You pull it out of the shadows and into the light of the page. You write, "I am afraid that," and you finish the sentence. Be brutally honest. I am afraid that I'll lose my job. I am afraid that I'm not good enough. I am afraid that people will see the real me and reject me. I am afraid that I'll fail and everyone will know. Just writing it down takes away some of its power. Fear thrives in darkness. It grows bigger and scarier when it's unnamed. But when you name it, when you see it in ink on paper, it becomes smaller, more manageable, more real. Then comes the interrogation. You ask your fear 4 questions. Question 1. Is this fear based on facts or feelings? Most of our fears are feelings masquerading as facts. Everyone will laugh at me feels true, but is it factual? Has everyone you've ever met actually laughed at you? Or is this an exaggeration your anxious mind created? Facts can be examined. Feelings, while valid, aren't always accurate. Question 2. What's the actual worst that could happen? Not the catastrophic fantasy version, the real version. Yes, you might fail. Yes, it might be uncomfortable. Yes, someone might criticize you. But will you die? Will you lose everything? Or will you survive, learn, and move forward? Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that even the worst outcomes were survivable, that he was stronger than he believed. Question 3. If the worst happens, how would I handle it? This is where you take your power back. You make a plan. If I lose my job, I will update my resume, reach out to my network, and apply to new positions. I have savings for 3 months. I have skills. I have survived hard things before. Suddenly the fear has less grip because you have a response ready. Question 4. What am I missing out on by letting this fear control me? This is the question that changes everything, because fear has a cost. Every time you say no to an opportunity because you're scared, you're saying no to growth. Every time you stay silent because you're afraid of judgment, you're silencing your truth. Every time you play small because you're worried about failure, you're guaranteeing that you'll never discover what you're capable of. Epictetus taught his students something revolutionary. He said, "It is not death or pain that is to be dreaded, but the fear of death or pain." The fear is often worse than the thing itself. The anticipation is more painful than the reality. Think about the times you've been absolutely terrified of something: a presentation, a difficult conversation, a big decision, and then you did it anyway, and afterward you realized it wasn't as bad as your mind made it seem. Your fear was a liar, but you only discovered that by moving through it. The fear interrogation doesn't make you fearless. It makes you wise. It teaches you to distinguish between real danger and imagined danger, between legitimate caution and limiting beliefs, between protection and prison. Your journal becomes the courtroom where fear has to defend itself. And most of the time, when you really examine it, fear has no case. It's just noise. It's just old programming. It's just the part of you that wants to keep you safe by keeping you small. But you weren't born to be small. You were born to grow, to risk, to try, to fail and rise and try again. The Stoics knew that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. It's moving forward even when your hands shake. Every time you interrogate your fear instead of obeying it, you become braver. Not because the fear disappears, but because you stop letting it decide for you. Write this if you're ready to stop running. I am braver than my fears. Number 5. The Identity Architect, writing who you're becoming, not just who you've been. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not the person you were yesterday. You are the person you're choosing to become right now, in this moment, with this breath, with this decision. Marcus Aurelius understood something that modern psychology is only now confirming. Identity is not fixed. It's not carved in stone. It's written in pencil, and you're holding the eraser and the pen. He wrote in his meditations, "Such as are your habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind. For the soul is dyed by the thoughts." Your thoughts shape you. Your beliefs create you. The story you tell yourself about yourself becomes your reality. And most people are walking around with a story they didn't even write. A story written by their childhood wounds, their past failures, their critics, their fears. The Identity Architect practice is where you become the author of your own story, where you intentionally design who you're becoming instead of accidentally repeating who you've been. Here's how it works. Once a week you sit with your journal and you write about your future self, not in some distant, vague someday, but the version of you that's emerging right now, the version you're building with each small choice. You write in present tense, as if it's already true. I am someone who keeps my word to myself. I am someone who faces difficulty with calm. I am someone who speaks truth even when it's uncomfortable. I am someone who treats my body with respect. I am someone who shows up for the people I love. This isn't fake positivity. This isn't lying to yourself. This is declaring your intention. This is planting seeds in the soil of your subconscious mind. The Stoics called this prososche, which means attention or focus. You're focusing your mind on who you're becoming so powerfully that your actions start to align. But here's the crucial part. After you write your identity statements, you write the evidence. You ask yourself, how did I prove this week that I'm becoming this person? And you list specific moments, small moments, real moments. Maybe you said you're someone who's disciplined, and this week you woke up early 3 times even though you wanted to sleep in. That's evidence. Maybe you said you're someone who's kind, and this week you checked on a friend who was struggling. That's evidence. Maybe you said you're someone who's brave, and this week you had that hard conversation you'd been avoiding. That's evidence. These small proofs accumulate. They build a case in your own mind that you are who you say you are. And slowly, the gap between who you are and who you want to be starts to close. Epictetus taught that we become what we practice. He said, if you want to be a writer, write. If you want to be virtuous, practice virtue. You don't wait until you feel like the person you want to be. You act like that person, and the feelings follow. The identity forms around the action. In 2026, we're obsessed with finding ourselves. But the Stoics knew something different. You don't find yourself. You create yourself. Every choice is a brushstroke. Every action is a word in the story. Every moment is an opportunity to author the next chapter. Think about the labels you've accepted. I'm just an anxious person. I'm not good with money. I'm terrible at relationships. I'm not creative. These aren't truths. These are stories, and stories can be rewritten. The identity architect practice gives you permission to let go of old identities that no longer serve you, to shed the skin of who you were forced to be and step into who you're choosing to become. It's liberation, it's transformation, it's rebirth, written one journal entry at a time. You also write about the person you're leaving behind. I am no longer someone who shrinks to make others comfortable. I am no longer someone who sacrifices my peace for others' approval. I am no longer someone who lives in the past. This is just as powerful as declaring who you're becoming. You're closing doors that need to be closed. Marcus Aurelius was born into power, but he wasn't born wise. He became wise through daily practice, through writing, through choosing again and again to be the person he respected. He wrote to remind himself, to guide himself, to build himself. Your journal is your construction site. Every entry is a brick. Every word is a choice. Every page is a declaration. You're not just recording your life, you're designing it. The most powerful thing you can do is decide who you want to be, and then show up as that person before you feel ready, before you feel worthy, before you feel confident. You act, and the identity follows. You are the architect. Your life is the blueprint. Your choices are the foundation. Build something beautiful. Build something true. Build someone you're proud to be. Share this if you're taking your power back today. I choose who I become. You've made it to the end, and that means something. It means you're serious about change. It means you're ready to do the work that most people avoid. It means you understand that wisdom isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you build, one honest word at a time. These 5 journaling habits aren't magic. They won't fix everything overnight, but they will do something more valuable. They'll give you a practice, a refuge, a way to meet yourself with honesty and compassion every single day. The evening reflection teaches you to learn from your days. The obstacle log transforms your problems into wisdom. The gratitude inventory opens your eyes to the wealth you already hold. The fear interrogation frees you from the lies anxiety tells. And the identity architect empowers you to become who you're meant to be. Marcus Aurelius left us with one final reminder. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for permission. Your journal is waiting. Your transformation is waiting. Your life is waiting. 10 minutes a day, that's all it takes. 10 minutes to check in with yourself, to honor your journey, to build the mind and life you truly want. The Stoics didn't journal because their lives were easy. They journaled because their lives were hard, and they refused to waste their struggles. They turned pain into philosophy, obstacles into opportunities, fear into freedom. You can do the same, starting today, starting right now. If this video spoke to something in you, hit that like button, drop a comment below, and tell me which habit you're starting with. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel so we can continue this journey together. Your future self is counting on the choices you make today. Now go, pick up your pen, and begin. Make it real by typing this below right now. I write my way to wisdom.